Welcome everyone. I'm Allison Meredith with Holston IT, and I'm just delighted to be sharing with you today some tips on how to manage kids at home, especially when you're unexpectedly at home yourself trying to get your work done remotely. Is that even possible? So let's get right into it. Yesterday, we talked about creating a reasonable schedule just for the whole day and communicating clearly through signs and lists, and also a bit of a secret sauce about how to have and manage a quiet time with your kids. I did have one question come in about quiet time that I just want to clarify really quickly. Someone was asking, can the kids read books or draw pictures during quiet time? Absolutely. You don't need to dictate that they can only play with those special quiet time toys. The point is, when you make the toys quiet time toys, they immediately become more valuable, and it's just a way to manage their motivation of looking forward to quiet time. But frequently I've also given kids a little stack of books or some pencils or crayons and paper to also occupy them. All right, today's tips are all about chore time. So, Abby, have I shared my screen? I just realized I haven't. So this is live, guys. You got to put up with me not being a guru on webinars. Thanks for your patience. So today's tips are all about chore time. I'm going to talk about listing all your chores, defining the frequency, how often you need them to be done, figuring out preferences and skills, and then most importantly, how to create a system of posting those chores so that it's not always just in mom's head, and they can go to the posted list and schedule instead of just bugging you. All right, so the first big idea is you need to give every kid a clipboard or a hardback book and a piece of paper and tour the house. If you've heard my first 2 days on this webinar series, you'll know I'm a big advocate of helping your kids have ownership of what you're doing to be a better manager of your home. It is an essential step. It's not a lot of just psychobabble. It really is important. So you're going to each room in your house and you just say, hey kids, how does this look? It's a mess. Yeah, it's a mess. You got to get the kids, you got to get them to recognize this place is messy. And then here's a key sentence we've used in my family. Would we be proud if Nana Carrie came to visit and saw this room? Or what about if my Aunt Weeza walked in the room? Would we be proud? No, we know my Nana Carrie and my Aunt Weeza, they love us. They would love us all the same, right? But gosh, don't we want to kind of put our best foot forward for these people? So that is an easy way to help your kids evaluate. Instead of just saying it's messy or not, it's also a way to say, we're not always looking for A+ spick and span. We just want to not be embarrassed when company comes over, okay? So that's something you can get them to think about. You take a clipboard too, but you're mostly gonna just be the secretary for your younger kids who can't write very fast. You're gonna have your ideas, but you need to keep those inside, write them down, but don't say them out loud yet. So the next step is just asking your kids, now that they've got all these things they've noticed about how messy your house is, ask them, why do we do chores? Why do we do chores? Here's what you're headed for, right? You're headed for this, but they're not going to be there yet. They're just not going to be there. So when you say, why do we do chores? I hope you're going to have at least one of your kids that's going to say, I like a neat house. It helps me think better. It just makes me feel better. That's awesome. So you key into that kid and say, all right, we need to serve Johnny. He's in our family and this matters to him. So when we keep our house clean, it's a way to express our love for him and our respect for him. I wish I could tell you that you could get all your kids to own a desire to make your house look awesome. I've not experienced that. I have 7 kids, and 4 or 5 of them really do kind of value cleanliness. 1 or 2 of them, it's just not a big deal to them. I mean, they'll just flat out tell me, I don't care. I don't care if I live in a pig pen. Doesn't bother me a bit. Okay, that's fine. It bothers me. It bothers your mom. I don't think as well when it just distracts me tremendously. So you don't have to care about cleanliness, but as a way to serve me, would you please make an effort toward this? So again, this is an important, it might seem like you want to skip over this, but don't skip it. It really helps your kids to understand why they're doing it. And in the long run, it's going to help you succeed. I've done this with my kids many times, by the way. This is not a one and done. You can ask. We've had many clipboard tours of the house and then talked about them. Next step is you're going to list all your chores. Just take all the pieces of paper from those clipboards, add to them, scratch them out, circle, just brainstorm. Get your kids to help you list out all the possible things you could do to make the house a neater, better place. The next thing you're going to do, and this is mostly going to be you, but you can still get some input from your kids, is kind of talk about how often do we need to do certain chores. So for example, our whole bathroom, it really ought to be cleaned twice a day. What our back bathroom, it could be cleaned twice a week. So this slide is not a comprehensive list, but I'm just showing you of some categories that you probably are going to want to use. By the way, something like porch improvement, I have found for garage, for your porch, for some things that really need half a day on Saturday to make it look good, it is still valuable to put it on your weekly schedule. And what you say is spend 10 minutes making the porch look better, or to spend 10 minutes, whatever. And just that little thing once a week on your chore list will help the porch, the garage, the whatever, the playroom. It'll help it not become a disaster. You can still do that, 6 times a year, half a day, purge, but put it on your weekly schedule as well. Another tip, as you're figuring out what your chores are, is whenever possible, break up your chores. We used to have a chore that said clean the living room. That was a monumental task. We're a big family, and I wish we all picked up after each other as well as we picked up after our own self. It just doesn't happen. It gets cluttered. So what we did is we put a box, just a big plastic box like you would use to store clothes for the winter. And we found kind of a corner behind our couch that we really weren't using. We set the box there and we said, this is our pickup box. Step 1 is get everything off the floor. Unless it's shoes or dirty clothes, we want those on the shoe rack or the dirty clothes basket, or trash, which we want in the trash can. Everything else, put it in the pickup box. And that just really takes a load off the kids, because it is a completely separate thinking strategy. Okay, this doesn't belong on the floor, let's put it here, versus this, where does it belong? I mean, that's really a separate category. You've all heard the phrase, a place for everything and everything in its place. I'm not contradicting that. I think that's a great philosophy. And all I'm saying is putting everything in its place is a much more difficult thing than just getting it away from where it doesn't belong. So that's what we've done in the pickup box. And so again, with clean the living room, instead of just clean the living room, it becomes somebody clears the floor, somebody puts things away, and then somebody can vacuum it or mop it or whatever that needs to be for getting your floor actually clean, not just tidy. And then with this, while I'm talking about this, we also have 2 or 3 times a week, we have a pickup box chore. And that person is assigned to go to the pickup box and get 6 things that don't belong there and put them where they belong. So that becomes part of your weekly routine as well. Laundry is another example. Don't just say, go sort some laundry. Say, separate the towel, socks, and clothes. And then say, sort the clothes into people. And then say, make 10 pairs of socks, or fold 10 or fold 8 towels, whatever. You got to figure out what your kids like to do and what they can do. Help them understand those are 2 separate things, and you need to know both. A lot of this stuff is going to be just the mom or the dad. You're going to be the best judge of what they actually can do, but you still want to ask them. This is also the time when you just mention to your kids that life is not all play. Chores are work. And so they need to get prepared that you're getting ready to make a new chore schedule and they are not going to love it 100%. It's work. So they need to set up for the fact that when they're telling you what they like to do best on the chore list, that doesn't mean that's what they always get. They're going to get some things that aren't their favorite as well. All right, so then what you need to do is create and post a schedule of who does what when, and create and post step-by-step instructions of what to do. So with this, I am going to share some signs and pictures with you. All right, so this is a document which I'll be sharing with you. I'll link to it here when this is posted on the blog. You can take this and make it your own. This is something we've created that is taped on all of the kids' dressers, chest of drawers, so they can read this easily each morning. We made this a while ago. They gave input, we talked together. This is something I can point to every morning and say, did you do your morning checklist? Now I'm going a little in a different direction here because this is something everybody does every day, right? Okay, so notice I've given them 6 things or 8 things to do, very clearly defined. And then I've referred to, in number 6, it says I organize my bedroom space. This is defined below. And there's the definition, boom. My space is neat and ordered when these things happen. So in this part of the document, what you're doing is you are enabling the kids to be better at self-assessment. Isn't that what we all want? We're trying to help these kids reach toward adulthood. We want them to be able to figure out themselves, am I done? Is this good enough? So that's what this section is. And then this little caveat at the bottom here is just, I don't know, honestly, if they ever read it, but I hope that some of them read it some of the time and that it's kind of getting planted in their brain, because that's the mindset that I want my kids to have. Okay, while we're on the topic of just some random things like that, or I shouldn't say that was random, that's an everyday, every kid thing, right? Every day, every kid. Here's the opposite. This is not on any chore list because there's not a certain time that the trash needs to be taken out. Now it is on the chore list to push the cans to the end of the driveway once a week. And before we do that, there is a chore where you walk around the house and make sure there's no full trash cans. But I'm talking about 3 or 4 days before the trash is going to be picked up and the can is full. Who takes it out? So this is what has worked for us. Let me just say with that too, I am not saying that my teenagers always jump up and do it. There are many times the can is full. I've been waiting for over half a day and I finally walk up to whichever 2 or 3 teenagers are nearest and say, okay, one of you needs to take out the trash. Volunteers? And if there's no volunteers, we draw straws. All right, so what I have used is, for years, is a daily chore assignment list that is organized around mealtime, and it's posted on my refrigerator. So here's a picture of it as it's posted today. And let me go off screen for a minute and show you a little bit about this. So here's one from a previous couple years ago. And you can see I've got the kids' names here, and I've got red, orange, yellow, green, blue. Bonus, they're learning the colors of the rainbow. Red is after breakfast, orange is before lunch, yellow is after lunch, green is before dinner, and blue is after dinner. And then the next day they're just going to flip and they have another day. So what's good about this system is that they don't feel married to their chores. If they have kitchen one day, they don't feel like they're just going to have kitchen every day. There's going to be some variety. Here's how, and I'll be sharing these documents with you. Here's how this system works. You're going to need to sit down and I hope you know how to use Excel. If not, you can just hand draw this. You need to map out some, well, this is kind of not pertinent anymore, is it? We're all kind of cloistered in our own homes. But one of my first steps was always to just map out who's out of the house at certain times so that I wouldn't schedule them for chores at those times. Then the next thing I would do is make sure the essentials like helping cook, helping clean up, kitchen, dining room, living room, making sure those were mapped out. So really most days kind of look like this with a lot of blank spaces. After those essentials of just dining room, kitchen, etc. are put into place, then you can go back and fill in and get a comprehensive list. Now, when you have decided who's doing what when, the next step is making sure that when they do those chores, say their chore is dining room, they have a very clear to-do list. This is taking the burden off you as a mom, because when they say, okay, I did my dining room chore, you say, did you follow the list? And the kids, oh yeah, I did. So you walk over to this list and it says, all right, it says wipe the chairs with a damp rag. Huh, I think you forgot this chair. Oh yeah, I guess I didn't do that, right? So this is a way for you to point to something outside of you as a third-party opinion of what it means to get the dining room chore done. I have one taped up in the kitchen on the inside of the kitchen cabinet. Here's one in the bathroom. So I will be sharing these lists with you. I don't think it's as essential that you get the kids' input on making these lists. I think you just need to make them. You're the adult, you know what a clean bathroom looks like. So I think that's it. I mean, as you can see, this is a very high level overview, very high level overview. But what I think I've tried to do here is to just help you see that you can break this down into smaller chunks. You can plan out which kids get which essential chores in what order, and then you can mix it up every day. Let me just say that the reason I chose to make our chore schedule around lunch and dinner and breakfast is because I noticed that when I was giving some kids set the table or clean the dining room, I would have other kids that didn't have that chore that day, and then they would get kind of grumpy. Not the ones without a chore, the ones with a chore would get grumpy. Well, Mom, Sally's sitting over there and she doesn't have a chore and I gotta do dining room. That's not fair. Okay, well, life isn't fair. I mean, that goes so far, but what I discovered is we have some chores like cleaning up bathroom, sorting the laundry. Why not just put them at the same time of the day? And then it's just chore time for the whole family. We're all gonna do chores, guys. The other thing is in the yellow chore spot, which for us is after lunch, I put some things that are a little more time consuming. And so if we were out for the morning and even through lunch, we could get home and I could say, all right, we're just gonna all do yellow chores real quick. And that would at least, you know, make sure the hall bathroom was clean and some essentials got done that day. All right, so with that, I am 18 minutes in and I promised I'd only keep you 20 minutes. I know you have a lot more questions. I'm happy to answer this. I can do another session about chores. I even have a separate system. When the kids were younger, I used to do wrist lists where they had their to-do list that they could wear on their left hand while they did their chores with their right. So if you want more information about that, that would have to be a separate video. And that's more for families that have everybody maybe 9 and under. That works well. So yeah, post your questions on Facebook or in the Q&A for the Zoom webinar and we'll see what we get. So Abby, do we have any questions?
Not so far.
Not so far. Okay, that's fine. So let me see. Let me just share my screen again. We'll wrap up. So today, what we talked about was brainstorming with your kids. What are all the chores that your family needs to get done every day, twice a week, whatever, to help your family just live when not in a pigsty, okay? And I say that jokingly because that might be what your kids need to hear. You need to explain to your kids that you're not asking them to be super perfect. You're just asking that the house is basically clean and basically tidy. And then whenever possible, break up those bigger chores into smaller tasks. So in the document I'll be sending you, for example, I've got hall bathroom, back bathroom, that's all one chore. But you might choose to say, okay, your chore is clean all the toilets. Your chore is clean all the sinks and then in the bathrooms, right? That's a much smaller chore than clean all the whole bathroom. I mean, you can just have them clean one sink. You break it up, make it easy for them to succeed. And then get them involved as you're brainstorming what needs to be done, what they prefer to do. Get their involvement. It is critical to making anything work, is for them to feel like they're part of the solution you created. And then get value from posting your expectations in to-do lists posted on the walls, in the schedule of who does what, posted on your fridge or some other central location. All right, so with that, I'll be signing off. Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking with you about just some tips on communicating with your kids and dealing with when they don't do what you ask, because they are children and that does happen a lot. I've had some questions on that, so I'll be addressing that tomorrow. And Friday's still up in the air, so I'll welcome your feedback on exactly what I talk about Friday. I can talk more about chores as we've started today, or I could talk about how to choose curriculum for older kids or younger kids, if that's of interest to you. So give me your input, and I'll look forward to being with you at this time tomorrow. All right, thanks so much. Bye-bye.